Hi everyone, it's Rachel and Anthony
Hello.
from Don't Crop Me Now. It's the start of June and let's do our plot tour. So let's just start off by saying we are massively behind. This is the most behind I think we've ever been in around 20 years of growing on an allotment. Now part of this is due to the weather. It has been really cold here in England in generally, but certainly in the northwest, and the nights are still dropping quite low, and that really slows down plant growth. It's also been raining most of the time, so some of our plants are looking a little bit sorry for themselves. We have also personally been very busy, mainly because we are on our allotment committee and it's been a little bit crazy, and that has been taking up a big proportion of our time. I have started planting out. I still have things to do. I think we're probably about 5 weeks-ish behind. If we start here on plot 5B, let's have a look at what is doing well and what isn't. So this bed here, this is a flower border bed. This is probably looking the best actually. The chrysanthemums are looking really pretty and they're perennial ones and they have come back in. The lavender border looks good as well. I have put some sweet peas in to grow up this wigwam, and we have put a few other perennial plants in this area and they are looking okay. I think they will take off and this probably will look quite pretty in about 6 to 8 weeks. The onions are actually looking really good. They're probably our best crop that we've got. I think they really liked being in the heavy mulch of manure. So they look very healthy. We have noticed when we look around the ground that lots of people's onions are bolting and going to seed. That's because of the cold weather and the wet weather, but ours seem to be pretty good. That's one thing that is working. The beans, however, are looking very, very sorry for themselves. So the dwarf beans that we grow for drying, they are alive just. The tips are certainly growing, but they, I think, have been hit by the cold weather and don't look brilliant. Same with the climbing beans that are for drying and some of them fresh that are on the wigwams. They are definitely alive, so I'm not going to worry too much. I think they've just been set back. They're not dead, so we should still get a crop. I have planted out the courgettes. They're still very, very small, but they look okay, and I think they will take off. Other than this, we have some early potatoes that we've planted in the polytunnel. And these potatoes will set an early crop. I think they should be ready within the next 2 to 3 weeks. I brought them out of the polytunnel because it's just starting to get too hot for them in there. And then the other areas that we've got, which are empty on here, we've got one bed with a lovely little chive border, which I grew from seed. That's looking quite pretty. The square wooden bed is going to be used for growing some carrots. That still needs to be put together. We need to get that sorted. That should have been done a long while ago. And the bed that just is storing most of the netting, that it will be I think it's brassicas actually, so that's a lot of the brassica netting. So it's looking reasonably tidy on here, but the crops are certainly behind. The trees in the background are looking quite healthy. They're quite happy with the cooler weather. We've got quite a lot of fruit setting on there. And we have also had to make the decision to move a really large amount of our homemade compost. In all honesty, this is because the plot that is adjoining our plot has had bindweed that is running through our compost now. And this is causing us quite a lot of problems. So we made the decision, whilst that plot holder gets back on top of their plot, to move all the compost that we have got onto this plot 5B to stop the bindweed running through that compost, because there's probably at least 3 to 4 tons of really good compost there and I don't want that full of bindweed roots. So we've made that decision and that's going to be a big job over the next month or so. We're going to move so many barrows each month and stack it up on 5B. It also means that we've got to build a new composting area on 5B because we need somewhere to stack the new compost. It's really busy in the greenhouse, so let's have a look there. The chilli house is planted up and we're using these self-watering planters which have done brilliant for us in the past. One thing I do need to do this week is to just chop the tops off all of the chilli plants to allow them to branch out. We have some smaller chilli plants here that also need to go up into some larger pots. We have got some gourd plants which I'm going to plant to climb up and over one of the compost bays, And we have lots of love for plants this year. Some of these are going to go on the back of this area of the greenhouse, and some we are going to plant into the polytunnel. We are now in the community plot greenhouse, and our volunteers yesterday actually planted out the tomatoes in here. We've had to store a lot of things within this greenhouse. A lot of the plants that we've got that are around our personal plot are also a mixture of things that are going to go onto the community plot and onto here. So we've tried to use some of that storage. So we do have some later brassica plants in here and some other chili plants that I'm not sure where they're going to go eventually. It's probably too much in this greenhouse to sit in here, so some will probably end up having to go into the polytunnel. Because we have had to empty the greenhouses to start planting them up, I've had to pull out all of the plants which have been planted quite late, so still pretty small. So here we have got a number of flower plants that will go around our plots, and probably some of these also on the community plot. We also have a massive amount of brassicas, and they are doing terrible too, in all honesty. They're all quite small and they've been slugged quite badly. So I pulled them out of the greenhouse. They will not like the temperatures in there. Put a net over those and hopefully allow them to grow on a little bit. We did pot a lot of those up, so I'm hoping that within the next couple of weeks they will pick up and then they can go out into the gaps on the plot. We're now on to plot 4, which is our main plot, and this area of the plot is actually looking reasonably nice. We have got a billion sunflowers here. I put them out because it's too hot in that greenhouse, and like I said, we haven't got any space anyway. They need to grow on before they are planted out, because if we plant them out now, they will most definitely get eaten by slugs. Our pergola is looking pretty good. I actually got given a little bit of money from friends for my birthday last month, and I spent a lot of it on buying plants to put around this pergola area. Another really interesting thing was a lot of the hanging basket plants, which are perennial but have never tended to survive outdoors for us over winter, have survived, like these trailing plants here, which meant that planting up the hanging baskets was a much cheaper job this year. I am going to plant this area around the edge of the apple tree as a sort of wild flower area. We have got some nigella seeds that have self-seeded that have come through. I'm going to put some calendula seeds in there because they're another one that's really brilliant at self-seeding. And also I was going to try a bit of chamomile. There are a lot of bulbs within this area anyway, so hopefully that will give us that just transition between spring and into summer without having to plant this up. I don't know if any of you guys have noticed, but mare's tail has been a nightmare this year. I think it likes this really cool and wet weather. And there's definitely a little bit of mare's tail popping up in here, so before I put those seeds in, I will pull that out. In front of me I have got the pond, which I'm really happy with. We had to build those structures over according to our insurance policy at the allotment ground, which was a real bit of a faff, but the overall look I'm really happy with, and the plants are starting to grow really well. There are definitely quite a lot of frogs in there, and I have seen them around the stone areas and sort of hopping around actually around this area of the allotment, so we're really happy about that. This bed in front of me here was meant to be a salad bed. Everything is going to seed. We do have leeks which I purposely left to go to seed, but the radish, spinach, parsley and coriander are all going to seed. I think this week I'll just pick the bits that I can and then resow them. If we stay with this cool weather, then potentially there's things like spinach might keep growing through the summer. So I wouldn't normally try and sow them at this time of year, but I'm gonna give it a shot. The strawberries are actually looking really good. The plants look really healthy, and within there are the startings of some ripe strawberries. This bed is into its third or second, I can't remember actually, second or third season. We have planted another bed up, and that bed has also got strawberries on, so I'm really hoping we are going to get a really good yield of strawberries this year. We got hardly any strawberries last year. I think the frost hit the blossoms at the wrong time, so this is going to be our strawberry year, fingers crossed. The dahlias definitely got a pretty good slug attack, but they are growing now. These are really established tubers, so they have quite a bit of resilience. I contacted the local farm that gave us the free sheep's wool last year, and they will have some more in a couple of weeks. So we will get some more to mulch around the dahlia frame, which worked really well for us, and the frame itself is still pretty sturdy, so we're happy with that. The lavender border is not looking too bad. This one plant here looks okay. I mean, these plants are quite old now. I think they've been in probably for about 8 to 10 years. I think this year I might replace these and put a smaller border in. later on in the year. The small capsule bed we have planted up with some various salad crops. I did that yesterday, so there's nothing showing. And in the background, the raspberry is very slow, but they are coming through. And the clematis that is climbing over the raspberry frame is actually looking really nice as well. The rhubarb is looking incredibly sad this year. I think we probably need to pick it and then give it another sort of flush. The very sad asparagus frame is still looking rubbish and still keeps coming apart, so that's an ongoing problem for us. The rest of the plot still needs significant planting, but let's see what we've got on in the front part. Yesterday, Anthony put these support frames up over the potatoes, so they will continue to grow in their final position. They're looking quite healthy, but they're quite behind, but not too worried about that. They still look pretty good. We do have some parsnips in here that have come through. We had a bit of a hot spell, so the germination wasn't amazing. So yesterday I re-sowed within the gaps. Within this very rickety frame, we have sowed carrots. I did that yesterday. The idea of this is to stop the carrot fly. It's a barrier for the carrot fly, which tends to work quite well. I have planted some celeriac over in this bed, and we will put probably some more carrots in the remaining section with the netting barrier as opposed to this wooden and glass barrier. In the background, we have some more onions, which again look pretty good. And then we have our capsule beds with the garlic and our collections that are for seed. So let's have a look at those. Now, these are the onions that we really did want to go to seed. So these are the ones that we are planted specifically for collecting seed. And I actually think these are going to look really, really pretty when they flower. So I'm really pleased about this. I think it's a nice area in itself. The parsnips again are looking really effective. They again are quite pretty flowers and they are for collecting seed. We have also got some carrots next to there. There's not as many carrots, so I don't know if we will get enough for pollination on them, but that was a trial for us this year anyway. The garlic is looking pretty reasonable. It has the starting of rust, probably because of the wet weather, but hopefully it's been long enough for them to start to bulb up, and I would hope that we can pick them within the next 3 to 4 weeks. The flower border is filling out. I think I am never happy with this flower border. I've definitely got too much of this one in. It's a massive plant and difficult to support. But this year we're so behind with the plot that the flower border is the least of my worries, and it is reasonably tidy. A lot of the alliums are coming up, and I'm sure it would look okay for the majority of the summer, and we can think about restructuring maybe at a later point. We are now on plot 2B, which is our fruit and polytunnel plot. This is where the bindweed is coming in under this compost area. It's definitely underneath some of these slabs, and it's starting to peek its way just up into this edge of the fruit cage. I need to weed generally along here. I'm going to trowel out the bindweed as we can, and as soon as the berries have ripened within this area, I'm going to take out all of these red currant bushes. To be honest, they're a bit big and we don't necessarily want them anyway. The other things are in pots, and then we can manage the bindweed before it spreads any further into the fruit cage. Let's have a look in the fruit cage though, because some of the things look quite good. It's almost like a jungle in here already, and that's always a nice thing to see. We're going to get a brilliant harvest, I think, off these blueberries again, and they're quite a lot of other fruits such as gooseberry setting. Our blackcurrant bushes are definitely a little bit worse for wear. I think a lot of these have started to die off, but luckily I have taken a lot of cuttings that are now into their second year and ready to be potted up. So I do think I will have a clear out in this cage in general in the winter. It'll help us to check to make sure we've managed any of the bindweed, and we can put younger, fresher plants in that will fruit better moving forward. The trees are looking quite reasonable. There's a little bit of a dead bit on the plum tree. I'm not sure we're going to get an amazing yield on that one actually, because it did not blossom that well, or I don't know if the frost hit the blossom, but this more fanned plum tree is looking slightly better. We need to keep on top of that top growth that goes through the top of the fruit cage, and it's the right time now to think about pruning. So I'll do some summer pruning on that and take out all of the growth that comes out of those laterals to make sure they don't just grow completely through the fruit cage. The last thing that looks absolutely amazing in here is that we have got some thornless blackberries, and they are flowering beautifully, and I think we're going to get a brilliant crop. On the fruit orchard area of 2B, we have put down a load of this red bark. I actually picked up this free from a local gardener that was giving it away, and I've decided to put cardboard underneath this bark. mainly because there hasn't been a large amount of bark put on this for a couple of years, so it was pretty much well composted, and we were getting quite a few annual weeds. So hopefully with the cardboard and then this red mulch on the top, we shouldn't have to weed this area again, because that was becoming a little bit of a tedious job. Our little pear trees are looking good, and they've got a lot of fruit on actually on here. The grass that we took and put on these pear trees, unfortunately, it was a bit late and one of them has fallen off. I don't think the other one is alive. So, you know, if you don't try these things, then you never win. But next year we'll look at doing that earlier on. We knew it was a bit late, so I wasn't expecting to have brilliant success. But one thing that we have got amazing success with is after the hacking away pruning that I did in the winter on this fig tree, I wasn't sure whether we were going to get brilliant fruiting, but it's absolutely full of little figlets already. So I really decided that you can really brutally prune established figs in the winter. They don't care, they're going to fruit back. So that's really a nice thing to know for us. And here we are finally inside the polytunnel, and the apricot tree is looking reasonable. We got some sort of infestation of some sort of sap sucking bug thing, which I went and squished them all off, and to be honest, it seems to have recovered okay. There's quite a bit of fruit on there, so hopefully those will ripen up and we'll get to eat some. I have planted a grapevine on this side, and the idea is that we will train this up along the metalwork of the polytunnel. There is currently nothing in this bed behind here at the moment, but yesterday I did put these cucumbers in with this frame, and we'll climb them up this part of the polytunnel. I'm not going to put anything in front because I'm not good enough at keeping up with the pruning of the cucumbers, and I know they will send out lateral shoots that will fill this area of the bed anyway. I'm just going to embrace that and not plant anything there. Other than that, we still have a little bit of storage going on in here. We've got some wood, we've got some charcoal which needs to go out actually on the fruiting areas, and we have to have somewhere to store a lot of our pots. So the use of this area isn't amazing at the moment, but I think I'll get a few more things. I'm not sure what I'm going to put in this bed, for example, but we will get some more things within there. And once the things like the cucumbers grow, then they will take up a lot of room. In fact, actually thinking I might put the luffers in there because they're similar to the cucumbers, and the cucumbers did well in here, so let's try that. So if you enjoyed the video today, please like, comment and subscribe. Take care everyone. Bye.
Bye.